human and in all the roles that he's played, for which I request my dear Benedict. Benedict is a media entrepreneur in the advocacy and the impact space, which special interest in sustainability, green business, social entrepreneurship and business literature. He's the author of the impactful business biographies, including the one that I also went for the launch of the book, which is The Management Guru, C.K. Prahalad. It's about him. And so I request Benedict to start the session.
Mr. Murthy, sir, if you could also come on stage to start the discussion.
We are highly privileged to have Mr. Murthy with us. Please give him a big hand again. He is used to addressing thousands of employees, boards, and college students, university students. I guess is it your first experience addressing or speaking to the literature crowd?
No, I have participated in Bangalore Literature Festival in the past, and I have participated in Pune and Mumbai, many places, yeah.
So I meant business literature. Okay, so, yeah, Mr. Murthy is not going to talk about his book. He said he's happy to do an interactive session, so all of us have a lot of time to ask Mr. Murthy questions. I'm going to start with first and very basic question. Which is the book that comes to your mind, or which is the best book you've read so far, Mr. Murthy?
No, by nature, I don't read general books. I don't read fiction. I don't read non-fiction, none of that. What I do read is what I should have read when I was a student. That is physics, mathematics, theoretical computer science, etc. Therefore, most of my reading is limited to technical books. They are difficult to read, difficult to understand, and as you get older, they become even more difficult, more and more difficult. I would say one of the best books that I have read recently is what's called Mathematical Universe by a professor from MIT called Max Tegmark. His thesis is that the whole universe can be represented by mathematics, by a set of equations. And he is, of course, a remarkable person. That's the book that I have just read.
Great. I'm sure you read business books. Who's your inspiration among business book authors, if you read any?
Well, I think it has to be clearly Peter Drucker, because Peter Drucker's ideas, opinions, and views are all so valid. They're time invariant, they're context invariant. They would be true in India as much as they are true in the United States. So I would say that Peter Drucker's books are really what have made a huge impression on all of us, certainly me in business.
But how relevant are they still to the Indian context particularly?
No, I think it is Peter Drucker's words are absolutely relevant, whether it is India or whether it's US. Let me give you one simple example. Peter Drucker says, culture eats strategy for lunch. What that means is, unless you set your culture proper, what is culture? Culture is what brings you joy, what makes you sad, how you spend your time, who your friends are, what are your priorities in life, your value system, etc., etc. What music you like, what kind of literature you read, etc., etc. So what, in the context that he was talking about was the corporate culture, which is value system, good governance, etc., etc. So therefore, he said, unless there is a good culture in a corporation that of honesty, good values, hard work, discipline, etc., strategy doesn't mean anything. So that's true in Bangalore as much as it's true in San Francisco.
So, just to ask you a personal question, your wife, Mrs. Sudha Murthy, is a prolific writer. So, do you discuss her books on a coffee table, dinner table?
No, not really, except that I have read several of them after they have been published. She wouldn't discuss with me at all the ideas on which her books are based. These days she is focusing mainly on conveying to children our heritage, the good values and the stories from our own experience in managing the Infosys Foundation. So really there's not much value that I can add there.
Okay, so we have one question from the audience.
Sure. Can I request Srivatsa to ask his question, please? Yeah. You'll have to speak up, mate. As you can see, we are running short of mics. Just speak up. Just speak.
Hello, sir. I'm Dr. Srivatsa from Institute. I'm professor there from Management.
Maybe you should use the, so that everybody can hear.
Thank you so much, sir. So it's a privilege to be here and asking this question to you. I'm Dr. Saurabh Srivastava from AIMS Institute. I'm professor there. I would like to know that what is, according to you, the toughest challenge in starting a business enterprise? Because that is what I think youngsters need to know so that they can be ready for that.
Well, there are several requirements to enhance the probability of success of an entrepreneur. The first and the most difficult challenge is, do you have an idea whose differentiated business value proposition to the market is far superior to all the existing ideas?
This question is from a person called RG.
But I'll tell you, I have this principle. The questions will have to come from women and men and alternately. Somehow I find that no woman has asked any questions. So.
This question was about the women, so is it RG? Okay. Any quick access to the mic, or can I call on the question?
You can call it.
Yeah, so the question is very interesting. Have you read all of Sudha's books? With the limited time you have, how do you select what books to read?
No, I think I would be wrong to claim that I have read all the books because there are so many of them.
16.
I would only claim that I have read Wise and Otherwise, which is an extremely interesting book. It's all about her experiences as the head of Infosys Foundation. And these stories are from throughout the India, so therefore there is a certain tapestry of Indian culture. I would say that that's what all I can claim.
The next question, there's no name, so I will take it for them. How can a book help when life is all about new experiences?
Well, somebody else's experience, somebody else's world experience could be my new experience. After all, we only lead probably 100 years if we are all very healthy. And within that period, the really productive life is somewhere around 40 to 50 years. Maybe somewhere between, let's say, 15 to 55 or 15 to even 70 means you are looking at 55 years. Within this period, it is difficult to claim for everybody or for anybody for that matter that he or she has experienced everything that is there. So therefore, by reading books, by reading the experience of other people, there is so much learning for all of us. You know, there's a very famous Kannada saying, it says, Kelavannu Ballavarinda Kalitu. That means, you know, some you learn from people who know it all, some you learn from people by reading, etc., etc. So therefore, I think somebody else's old experience would be my new experience. So as long as I have respect for the other individual, as long as I am willing to be open-minded, to absorb the good things from that, I do believe that I will be a better human being by reading somebody else's experience.
Okay. May I request Sumati Chari for her?
Good afternoon, sir. I really believe that the Infosys story is something to be told to everyone. So when are you going to author a book on that?
Well, you know, when you write a book, you have to be completely honest. And if you are honest, you will disappoint many people. Not just within the four walls of Infosys, but you will disappoint a lot of people outside. Because given the platform that I had, I have interacted with a lot of very senior, very influential, very powerful people in the country and outside the country. So therefore, my view is that all the good things that can be said about Infosys has already been said. There are so many articles written, so many people have written. So why add confusion to all of this by writing the book?
But if the business history of India is written last 20 years, where would Infosys fit in?
Well, I think if you looked at a company which for the first time in the history of this country said even ordinary people with average intelligence can succeed in the country. If there is one company that said we can benchmark ourselves with the best in the world and compete with the best in the world. If there is one company that said that our corporate governance standards could be compared with the best in the world. If there's one company that said we will democratize wealth like nobody else has done in the history of India, then Infosys stands out as a unique experiment. Therefore, my personal view, I may be completely wrong, my personal view is it has to be number one.
So I'm going to read out a question. I don't have a name on this sheet. What advice would you like to give youngsters in the room?
What advice?
Would you like to give the youngsters in this room?
No, I think they should be the ones to give me advice. Like I used to get from my children when they were teens. Every day would be a huge set of advice. No, seriously, I think you are at a unique place in the history of this country. Certainly people like me have seen how this country has progressed in the last almost 30 years, from 1991 onwards, when we obtained the economic independence of India, thanks to liberalization. Our confidence has grown up. If you looked at decades, not at 1 year, right now the economy is 5%, all of that I agree. But if you look at the average over the last 2-3 decades, I think the economy has done well. We are now in a different orbit we are unhappy with a 5% economic growth, whereas those days we are very happy with 2% Hindu rate of growth. Similarly, there is a lot of foreign investment that has come to India. Our stock markets, even though they have gone down in the last week or something like that, they are still at a fairly high level. If you look at the BSE index or NSE index, whatever you look at, they're all in a different orbit compared to where we were prior to 1991. And I was a youngster of your age in 68, 69, 70. So therefore, when I say that the country is doing well, the economy is doing well, I look at these last 30 years. I don't want somebody to think, no, this stock market has gone down or the economy has gone down to 5. Is this an idiot to say the economy is doing well? No, that is not what I am saying. All that I am saying is, yes, the economy right now has gone down to 5%, but we are in a different orbit. We are in the orbit of thinking that 5% is very bad for the country. We have gotten used to 7%, 8%, 9%, 10%. So therefore, you are at a unique place in the history of the country. I did not have this kind of self-confidence, this kind of growth around me, this kind of recognition for India. Our cricketers are doing well. Sindhu won the World Championship. There are lots of wonderful things that have happened in the country. Now, this is the time when you people have to say, we will make sure that this progress is sustained. Yes, it may have gone down to 5% now, but I'm sure it will come back. Okay? So what is important for you people is to show honesty, discipline, hard work, high aspirations, open-mindedness, and then say, we will make this country a developed country in the next 30 years or 50 years. That I think opportunity has been given to you. That was not given to me. In the 60s, when I was your age, everybody, when I went abroad, everybody said India is a filthy country, India is a dirty country, India is a no good country, etc. Whereas today, people are not saying that. So therefore, you are on an extraordinary platform. Please seize that opportunity. Please have high aspirations. Please work hard. Please be disciplined. Please be honest. Please follow good people and not bad leaders, of whom there are enough in this country at this point of time. And make this country a true Ramarajya as we have all want. That's what I will say.
Namaste, sir. Myself, Tanya Ravi. I'm on your right side.
Sorry. Please.
I'm sorry. Should I come that side?
No, this is okay.
Okay. Yeah. So I work as a freelance content writer, and I'm a disability evangelist. So when it comes to me, I'm a person who could not do mainstream schooling, and with a lot of struggles, and they never gave up in me or my family support. I homeschooled and distance education, and these are the academic things that I have from my end. And there was times that even now I'm inside the four walls in my room, but my kind of work and the humbleness that I support a couple of people in disability sector, the nation has identified me last year with a national award. So no, not for the clap. Yeah. So what I really wanted to ask is, now, like how I came up, I want my disability community to also to come up. I definitely not reached any Mount Everest, but what I really wanted to know is, at this time, what really makes a person with disability to work in the mainstreams, example in an MNCs, they look for more of credibilities in academics, or is it some talent that they have to focus on?
No, I think in the end, what is important is, once they have discipline, determination, and aspiration, I think you can do extraordinary stuff. Let me tell you, about 25 years ago, I attended a panel discussion in San Francisco. And there was a gentleman who was sitting at the other end of the panel, and I was at this end. And he spoke, and later on, I came to know, after I spoke to him and all of that, that he was a blind person who had climbed Mount Everest. Wiefenhofer, his name is Wiefenhofer, a German. The point is simply this: he was a blind person who had climbed Mount Everest. What greater achievement can you think of for a differently abled person than this? And that happened simply because he was in an environment where people thought that he could do as well as anybody with some help. All of us need help in different ways, but he needed help in a particular way, and he did that. So therefore, I would say it is the responsibility of the society to treat differently abled people with affection, dignity, and conduct themselves in such a way that their self-confidence goes up, and that their aspirations go up, their determination goes up, and that they are as much a part of the society as possible. I tell you, Infosys, now I don't know how many are there. At Infosys, we made a decision that we will not hold physical disability against any individual. For example, I used to have a MBA in my planning group working directly with me, who was, you could say, theoretically blind. His thing was 200 or so, minus 200, which means, the doctors consider him theoretically blind. But we had provided him some special equipment, etc., etc. And he was as good as anybody. Provided you did not expect him to do physical stuff like others. That is the issue. In terms of his intellectual output, he was as good as anybody. And similarly, we have had a decision, I don't know what's happening now, I have retired, that we have had receptionists who are blind, we have had, in so many areas, software people who were, who were hard of hearing. So we have treated people with, who are differently able, with respect and with affection, and we have treated them as equals. I think that is the most important thing. That is what this society somehow doesn't do. That's what the American society does. That's what the German society does. And I think we all have to stop this thing of, pitying and then say they are as good as any and better than many. Then it will happen.
Sorry. Sir, this is a question in front of you. This is about timelines of companies that are being built now. I'm a digital entrepreneur. My name is Alok Kejriwal. And it's almost becoming standard to start a company with an exit in mind. So when I raised my last fund, there was almost half the time spent on when will you exit, when will we sell the company, and what will happen to this. And these weren't the companies that were built, that India was built on in the past. So how do you look at capitals longevity and what is the patience of capital today, the provider of capital and entrepreneur patience compared to what happened when you built your company. Because it's almost imperative to give my venture capitalist a guarantee of an exit, which 90% happens by sale, which means I'm not going to own my company anymore. And so for the record, it's almost become my claim to fame, saying, I start a company and I sell it in 8 years. And I'm not even sure whether I should be proud of saying that, but how do you look at this concept of let's make one and sell one?
I'm not used to that paradigm, because when Infosys was founded, I made all my younger colleagues sit down and then told them that we will have to make profit right from day one. How do we make profit right from day one? We will spend less than what we earn. Doesn't matter what you earn. Second, out of that profit, we will declare dividends, and you pay tax on that dividend and then put it back as your equity. That's the paradigm I'm used to. I'm not used to the current paradigm where people bring, value a loss-making company at huge valuation. That's what I'm not used to. However, the reality is simply this, that my time was a different time. Today is a different time. Today, there are people who are willing to willing to ascribe high valuation to companies which have not made a single cent. It is their money. Who am I to question? They know better. So I don't say it's right or wrong. That's not...
Just the last one, how's your biopic going, sir?
No, I think, well, it's not for me to comment. I think you have to ask Ashwini Iyer. She's the one who has said that she is thinking of, so I wouldn't know.
So happy to call this session to a close. Thank you so much, Mr. Murthy, for your time.